Hey, what's up, guys? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Just doing another quick test stream, see how this turns out. I want to see what the quality is after the fact and just get used to this program here. I've seen a lot of people using it over the last couple weeks, and it seems a little friendlier than the old, what was it, YouTube Studio or Google Plus Studio, whatever it was before. Give a few minutes and see if anybody pops on here. It looks like it's working though. Let's see if I can get there. It looks like it has a little bit of a delay, but that's about it. Make sure I go back to live. Hey, you guys that just jumped on, tell me how the quality is and how it's coming across. It seems like it's working pretty well from this end. But there is definitely a bit of a delay. Is the video quality coming across okay? And the audio? Well, there's a few of you on here, so I'll just kind of jump in. Like I said, I just wanted to test this out. I'll do a quick, just kind of show some of the records I've been spinning, and then also show some of the stuff that's just kind of come in. Obviously, not getting out to record stores right now. A lot of record stores and online retailers have been having some pretty good deals. So I've been picking up some pretty cool stuff, and a lot of pre-orders are coming through. Hey, thanks, Papa Joe. Thanks, Ron. So let's just kind of go in and take a look at some of the stuff that's spinning, or some of the stuff I've been spinning the last couple of days. The biggest one, if you've watched my last few videos, I've been listening to a lot of Maiden lately, which isn't abnormal, just a little more than normal lately. I've really been in a Maiden mood. So I went ahead and pulled out their debut. This was a, oh yeah, I got to get used to, this is a different camera. I'm using the camera on the laptop, which isn't the best. So I got to kind of hold the stuff up a little bit different than I normally do. But this is an OG German pressing that I picked up a couple of months ago. The sound quality is pretty good. I might do a comparison video between this and the US pressing. This one has a little bit of noise. It's a little bit more well played than my original US pressing. But I really want to get the original UK pressing that has a little bit, what is it, a few extra minutes of music on there at some point. So I've been spinning that quite a bit. Let's see. And I may have already showed this one, but this has also been getting quite a bit of love lately. This is a really, actually, I know I showed this one. But this is a really killer live show, and I've given this 2 or 3 more spins as of late. Oh man, this is gonna drive me nuts. Alice Cooper, $1 Billion Babies. This was the live set or the live record store day release, and you can see the set list right there. The A side is really killer. The B side's good as well, but they're just hitting on all cylinders on that first side there. Another live. This one is I can't remember if this is a radio broadcast or not. No, this is a soundboard recording from the Apollo Theatre in Glasgow, Scotland, May 6, 1982. One of my favorite new wave of traditional metal bands, or new wave of British heavy metal bands, Girlschool. And this one's on purple vinyl. You can get this one for really cheap. I think I got this one off of eBay from one of the websites for, or one of the sellers for like $18 or $19 shipped. So they're not going for a crazy amount of money like some of the recent soundboard recordings have been popping up. Another one, this was probably my second or third favorite album from last year. Just really killer thrash. Definitely one I highly recommend picking up. But this is Ritual Servant, Metallum Evangeli. And I don't know if there's any vinyl copies of this left. I can't remember if this one was only 50 pressed or 100 pressed, but these were real limited, and that was through Rox Records. Just killer Bay Area style thrash. Really enjoyed that one. Speaking of thrash, one of my all-time favorite bands, and a hometown band. Yeah, Ron, I got it on. I'm trying to think of the seller. It's CD something on eBay. It's one of the real big retailers on eBay, and they've had it for real cheap. I've been buying a lot of the MOV pressings from them lately too, and getting really good deals. This one, I did a review on this one a few months ago when it came out. I pulled this one back out and gave it 3 or 4 spins yesterday and today. The newest from Sacred Reich. This is a hometown band for me. CD Imports. There we go. Thanks, David. I got this one signed when I saw him at the a couple months ago with Gwar and Toxic Holocaust. Dude, Toxic Holocaust blew me away. They're a band I never really got into, and it's not that I didn't think they were good. Just a lot of the new wave thrash bands, Cannabis Corpse, and is that one of them? I think that is. And then there's a couple of the other thrash bands, the newer thrash bands that they're just a little goofy for me, and I didn't really get into them. But man, Toxic Holocaust came on right before Sacred Reich, and dude, they just killed it. I wish I would have gotten their record too. I didn't see it there. I guess Farley. I don't know if they were sold out by the time I went to buy one. I know Farley got a signed copy though. And then the last one, I've been spending quite a bit. I forgot how good this album was. I hadn't listened to this in years. This is one of the recent, what do they call them? Limited run vinyls. This one was released by Retroactive, but this is I believe the 3rd album from Bride, and this is Silence is Madness. And again, this album is just killer. They did a really good job on the pressing, and I've really been digging it. Hey, what's up, Carson? How you doing, bud? So that's the main vinyl. I've also got a bunch of stuff I just recently picked up. So let's just kind of flip through some of this. I haven't listened to most of this yet, so you'll probably see it in future videos. The first one, this one just came in a few days ago. The Metal Blade store had it on sale, so I was really stoked to get a copy. This is I'm Alive, the new live album from Cirith Ungol. And just a heads up, the pre-order is up for their new album too. But Cirith Ungol, if you haven't checked them out, it's just one of those bands that never got real big, but it's one of those bands that's influenced just about every big metal band out there. So highly recommend checking them out and just seeing for yourself. Epic metal, they get put into a bunch of categories: epic metal, epic doom, just straight up metal. There's some power metal in there. Just a really killer band. I've also been picking up a lot of these, what do you call them? A lot of these radio bootlegs lately. So these 3 just came in. The first one is Motorhead, Don't Let Them Grind You Down. Let's see if it says. This is Iron Fist Tour, Newcastle, England, March 22nd, 1982. And these have a really cool obi with them. I think there's 5 or 6 from this particular company. I've gotten 3 of them so far. I've also gotten the Maiden one, which is Axe Falls on Holland. and this one is Holland, April 28, 1981. So this is my favorite live era of Maiden. I love the live Di'Anno stuff. It's just, he was just so good live. Not take away, I like the Bruce Dickinson stuff too, and I just saw them live last year, and it's one of the best shows I've ever been to. But I'm really digging these. This one's a double album, and then another one. I love their early stuff. I was really stoked to see that this one popped up. This is at the Hammersmith in 1984 on the Warning tour, and this is Queensryche. I'm really interested to see which version of Queen of the Reich that they use, the more thrash version, or if it's the more progressive version that they went to. This one just came in yesterday, or maybe Saturday. I haven't even opened this one yet, but this is the new Metal Church from the Vault. So looking forward to the last few Metal Church albums have been really good. And actually, I was going to ask too. So a lot of people have really liked the Pressing Wars videos that I've been doing, and I've been debating whether I want to do another metal one. And if I do a metal one, I have a super clean white label promo of the Metal Church debut, and then I also just picked up the MOV pressing, so I may do that one. Put some comments to here, or after I save this in the comments below, if you want to see that one next. Or I've also been thinking about doing the Cure. Is it Degradation? The one with yeah, I think it's Degradation. I've got a promo copy of that one and a recent reissue too. So those are the two that I'm thinking about. So you guys, most of you watching right now would probably go for the Metal Church, but for those of you that watch this later, put your comments down below too. Another one that just came out just the last few days. I haven't even looked at the vinyl for this one, but this is Objection Overruled from Accept. This is in the 90s with Udo. Let's see what year. And I don't remember this album, so I may be listening to this for the first time. But definitely see. And then I also, it's over there, but I also just got one of the 90s albums from Sodom. This one just came in a few days ago as well. This is the new release from Saint. I bought it direct from the band. They had it discounted. I think I paid $19 shipped. And this is the Calf from Saint. Let's see what else we got going here. Again, more of the live bootlegs. This is 5 November 1974, and this is UFO live at the Electric Ballroom here in the Atlanta area. I don't know what it is about that name, Electric Ballroom. I used to play in my first band, a club in Phoenix called the Electric Ballroom that was there for years, right in Tempe, near the Arizona State University campus. Next up, live in Tokyo, 1978, the Scorpions. Really looking forward to this. I haven't seen Uli Jon Roth is supposed to be coming here live in July. He hasn't canceled it yet. Hopefully he is still coming. That's another band. I already missed the Overkill show. It's going to suck if I have to miss the Uli Jon Roth show as well. But live in Tokyo 70. I think he was actually out of the band by this point. This is one I've been looking for years, and I just never find it in good condition. Rockadrome ended up having a near mint pressing, so I'm really stoked to have this. Just a classic thrash album, Faith or Fear, Punishment area. So really stoked to give this, finally have this on vinyl and to give it a spin. And it wasn't much. I think I paid 15 or 20 bucks for it from Rockadrome, one of my favorite websites as of late. Stars Live in America. This has been on my want list for a long time. If you guys haven't checked out Stars, it's one of those bands that everybody just sleeps on. Unfortunately, because of issues with their management and with their the record label going under, they just got a raw deal. And this is a band that should be much bigger than they are. Most of the glam metal from the 80s really got their inspiration from this band. Motley Crue has said it. Van Halen's talked about them. I'm trying to think. I know LA Guns. I can't think of the singer from LA Guns, but I have talked about that these guys really were kind of an inspiration for them, and just a killer band. But this is, again, live in America. Next up, this is one I was really excited about. This is, I think this is the best Death Doom album of all time. And it would probably be in my top 10 Doom albums of all time. This is just so good. If you haven't checked this out, I recommend going onto YouTube and checking out some clips of this. It's so good. But this is Exhumed of the Earth from Paramecium. And was this Jason? I believe it was Jason from Mortification, one of his side. Regardless, highly recommend checking this one out. They did a killer job redoing the artwork. Scott Waters was telling me about this one. Hey man, what's up, Jeffrey? How you doing, bud? They actually he didn't clean up the pictures. They actually went back to the same spot and took the pictures from the same exact angles and used brand new digital images. And this album just came out looking phenomenal. And it's on pretty cool vinyl too. This was a limited run of 400, which is quite a bit. However, hey, what's up, Brendan? How you doing, bud? So this is disc 2. And let's pull out this one. Man, they just did such a good job on this one. If you guys are into doom metal at all, this is definitely a must-have album, and they're hard to find. Is that coming out good? Yeah, you can kind of see it there. But a must-have if you're into doom there. Let's see what else. Yeah, I'm not going to show that one. Also, just got this one in. I'm looking forward to hearing this. This is Trevor Church from Haunt. I've got it right here. I've been playing the heck out of the new Haunt album. Mind Freeze, one of my favorite albums of the year so far. Definitely going to be in my top 5 come the end of the year. This is one of his side projects. It's Hysteria, Night Closing In. So definitely looking forward to checking that one out. This one, you know, I usually pre-order all this stuff, and I just kind of, I don't know why. This one kind of slipped past me. I've seen these guys and gal live 3 times now. So finally got this. This is the Myth, Magic, and Steel EP. Is it an EP? Maybe it is a full album. Oh, it's kind of hard getting used to this camera. And this one is on. That's kind of cool. Color pressing as well. This next one, I held off on buying it. It's not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite album from the band. It's them at their Ross, which is usually the stuff I like. I just don't think that they had found their groove yet on this album. However, the follow-up is one of my favorites from the band, but this is the debut. What was it called? The Conviction from Accuser. This is the recent Remorse Records repress. I love Accuser. I think that they should be in the top 4 or the big 4 Teutonic Thrash over what's the beer drinking guys. They're one of those bands. Their demo came out like 6 months too late to fall into that first group. But I think Accuser is every bit as good as Creator or Sodom, who are my 2 favorites from that big 4. And then finally happen to have this on vinyl. This is my favorite from the band. This is Celtic Frost 2 Megatherion. This is the recent reissue. The prices have been crazy on these. These were selling at almost Tankard. Thank you, Jeffrey. I can never remember the name of that band. I've always preferred Accuser. I'm not a big Tankard fan. I think they're okay. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm just kind of showing Brendan. I'm just kind of showing stuff that's recently come in right now. I haven't actually spun any of these last few records that I'm showing right now. So it's all stuff that's queued up to play. But these reissues are already going for 40, 50 bucks, and they sold out pretty much everywhere. So that was the only one from that period of Celtic Frost that I don't have an original of. I'd still like to find an original at some point, but happy to have that in the meantime. And let's see what else. And then the last few here. The Soundhouse Tapes EP and more rare early tracks again. Iron Maiden. That's probably my #1 grail right there. But I don't have the thousands of dollars that they go for. I'd really love to have a copy of the Soundhouse Tapes EP, though. But looking forward to checking that out, though. I know, I think Scott and maybe Ron, did you have this one too, Ron? I can't remember. Somebody else showed it, though. That's the back. And then also picked up live at the Reading Festival 1980 and more rare early tracks. Again, Maiden from the Di'Anno era Maiden. And then last but not least of just what's kind of been spinning. Yeah, Jeffrey, I am me on that. I'd definitely be interested. Yeah, Steven, I love the Creator stuff. And Creator, I love everything they've released. Even their recent albums have just been killer. I mean, just straight up keeping the Teutonic thrash alive. They're just killing it. I haven't heard the last couple of Sodom albums. I've been on a real big Sodom kick lately. I probably have 7 Sodom albums sitting over there that I've listened to in the last week or two. And then last but not least, Smolder, Dream Quest Ends, their newest release. I believe they call this one an EP too. It's 6 songs. It's like 35 minutes. So it's kind of right on that border of mini album. What's her name? And these guys really got screwed over by coronavirus. They had just arrived in Europe, if I remember correctly, and had to be diverted back. I think half the band ended up getting stuck there, and they ended up going on a crazy merch sale. They were selling all their merch as fast as possible online so they could get enough money to get tickets back. And I believe they're back in Canada now. But Smolder is definitely a good band. A lot of people put this in their top 5 or their album from last year. It'd probably be in my top 20. It wasn't quite in my top 5. The singer is one of the girls that does. She's the girl that I can't remember her name, but she does the Locked Horn reviews on what's a Canadian site? You guys know what it is. But she's one of the reviewers, and she's really into doom. This is more new wave traditional metal. I think they called I don't remember what they call this, coffee colored vinyl or something. I don't know. Yeah, man, I really want that new Demons and Wizards. I actually just listened to the first 2 albums a couple weeks ago. I just recently found out about them maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it was one of those things where I was just flipping through one of my UCD stores and I ran across the second Demons and Wizards album. And had it not had the sticker on the front that said who it was, I wouldn't have bought it. I definitely highly recommend checking that out. The funny thing about that is it's the dude from, is it Blind Guardian? You've got, what's his name from Iced Earth, and then I believe it's a singer from Blind Guardian, who I'm not a huge Blind Guardian fan, but on that Demons and Wizards, man, they just put it together, and they just kind of kill it. Oh, well, that was the other thing. So I wanted to talk about this band right here. So you guys that are in the new wave of traditional metal. Yeah, Hansi, there we go. And then they've gone, Blind Guardian has gone in a completely different direction. I just picked up their newest album, and it's basically an opera. There's no metal to it at all. I ended up calling up Scott Waters and asking if he wanted it because I just had no interest. Hey, what's up, Billy? So, Billy, you have to tell me how it's working out. Billy and I are talking about doing a stream together in the next few days. So I just wanted to kind of test this out real quick. But I wanted to talk about Desolation Angels a little bit. I picked this album up it's maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This is a reissue by Buried by Time and Dust, which is a really killer label. I wonder if I'm trying to see if it says what year this came out. Yeah, I don't remember what year the repress was. I think it originally came out in '83, though, which is the tail end of the new wave of British heavy metal. And it comes with a 7-inch, which is what they're really known for, is their 7-inch, the song Valhalla, which is killer. Oh, I came with this poster, too. Live from England. Does it say a date on here? 13 October. Yeah, I don't see what year. With the supporting act Bad Lizard. Anyway, so this is one of those bands. I really dig this album, and the song Valhalla is one of my favorite. Oh, that wasn't even on this album, huh? Oh, no, it was. It was. Valhalla is probably one of my top 20 new wave of British heavy metal songs. And I've always really dug this band and just thought that they were, that they didn't get their due. It was my opinion. And I had always heard rumors about a second album that they had recorded. And what had happened was the label that they were on was a smaller label. They put out the 7-inch. I'm not even sure if it was the same label that put out this record originally, the original pressing of this. But I guess they didn't get much promotion. And they considered themselves more of a live band anyway. So this is one of those bands, one of those kind of hidden gems, in my opinion. I always thought that they were just super underrated. And then I got a hold of this box a while back. They did do a vinyl release of this. They're hard to find. I was shocked to run across this because these go for $30 or $40 for the little CD box, and I ended up picking it up for $15. But I wish it gave more information, but the music itself says quite a bit. And basically, what this box is it's all the live studio stuff that they recorded, and then their second album that was never released, some other live tracks, and then a bunch of live stuff that was never released. So, see, it's a 4-disc set. CD1, the A side, is really where it's at, the studio recordings, and it's basically the second album that was never released. And then the B side is some other miscellaneous studio, or the disc 2 is some demos. So what I learned from this band, honestly, this album is amazing. The second album that they recorded but never released is really good. For being a live band, a band that calls themselves, they're all about the live show, and that's where they're the best. None of this live stuff is that good. It's all just kind of mediocre, in my opinion. And part of the problem with this band is they weren't innovators. They were following trends the whole time. So, like I said, their debut EP, or the single Valhalla, didn't come out till '82. Already coming towards the end of the new wave of British heavy metal. This album didn't come out until '83. And I do highly recommend picking this up if you find it. Their second album didn't come out, though, they didn't record it till '85 or '86, and it's a new wave of British heavy metal album. The sound had already moved on. They thought they were getting screwed over by the British or the UK crowd, so they decided to move to Hollywood. And then in '88 and '89, they started recording again, and they were still doing new wave of British heavy metal in '88 or '89 in Hollywood. And all I see from their discussions is how people just didn't understand them, and how they were just underrated, and they got screwed over by the labels, and they got screwed over by they're a great band, Steven. I do recommend, like I said, I recommend checking out this right here. This is about the only thing from them that I would buy. The box set, like I said, The studio tracks are really good. The rest of it's just mediocre. They were a band that just didn't know when it was time to give up and move on. Towards the end of the 80s, if you weren't doing thrash or glam, it just wasn't selling. New wave of British heavy metal wasn't there anymore. All those bands had moved on to bigger, better stuff. All of those guys had changed that. I don't remember what I paid for this. I bought this when it first came out in 2014 or 2015. And I think I paid like 25 or 26 for it. I don't know how hard it is to still find it. Like I said, it's been a number of years. And Buried by Time and Dust is kind of they're a smaller label. They do some really cool stuff like this. They've redone like a couple of Satan albums, and their niche is kind of the new wave of British heavy metal era. Everything, all their stuff is beautifully pressed, though. I definitely recommend that label. I just thought this was interesting. Just a band that I was really stoked and hyped up for. And when I got this, I was really expecting some great things, and it was just kind of a mediocre band that had a really killer moment, and then just kind of went flat from there. Hey, you need to keep that to yourself, Farley. For those of you who don't know, Farley's here in Georgia too, and he's definitely an Atlanta fan. Man, I would love to see Omen. I love everything that they released. Let's see, man, 86. I don't even think I knew who Omen was in 86. I don't think I got into them until the early 90s, but I would love to have seen them live. I wouldn't be surprised they may be touring. There's a lot of bands. It's been shocking me lately how many bands that haven't done anything since the early 80s are starting to put stuff out again now that the new wave of British heavy metal, or the new wave of traditional metal, just kind of opened that market back up for all of those classic bands. So it's really cool to see, bands like Diamond Head and Back on the Road. Let's see. Yeah, man, the Death. So I ended up selling most of my original Death pressings, Brendan, because those reissues just sound so much better. I have them all now. I think Human was the last one I needed, and I just got that about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So let me grab another stack real quick of stuff that just came in. So I'll go through these real quick, and we'll just call it a night. We'll call this a good test. So this next one is actually a Grail. I don't say that often. This is one I've wanted for years. I screwed up 2 or 3 years ago. I could have bought a sealed copy for like $80, and now they go for close to 200, 250. But this is Megadeth Countdown to Extinction, the MoFi pressing. Ended up getting this for a really killer deal. Yeah, Farley, Atheist was a funny one for me. I heard Atheist when they first came out in '89. Them and Atrocity were the first two technical death bands, and I got into both of them at the same time. And I just ended up thinking Atrocity was better. And over the years, I just kind of stopped listening to Atheist, and I haven't really gone back to them. That debut album, I remember liking. Atrocity just did it a little bit better for me. And then I got into Coroner, which is obviously a thrash band, but that technical sound. And when I'm in the mood for technical from 89, 90, it's Coroner and Atrocity that I go to. But I probably need to give Atheist another chance. But let's see. This is other one I was talking about that just came in, Till Death Do Us Unite, from Sodom. This was just reissued by Music on Vinyl. And I did the Amazon pre-order. So really looking forward to spinning that one. Like I said, I've been on a huge Sodom kick lately. Oh, man. So what to say about this album? I don't love it. I don't dislike it. I think it's a good album. I think it's the best album that he's released since '96. But that said, I don't think it's going to get much spin. I won't spin it that much. I've given it a couple spins, and I just haven't had the desire to spin it again. But this is Ordinary Man from Ozzy. Yeah, man, I love Prong. So my introduction from Prong, so Sepultura is one of my all-time favorite bands. And in, oh man, 90, I'm trying to think what year it was. Oh man, it had to be 90 or 91. There was an EP that came out, a split EP that had Biotech as Godzilla and Territory. And then it had Cut Rate and Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck from Prong. And that was my introduction to Prong. And I've been hooked ever since. I have everything that they've released. I'm not a fan of their newest, their last two albums have just been mediocre. But man, that stuff from the 90s, I love their early thrash and crossover stuff as well. Pretty much everything that Prong did. I loved. And actually, Prong's guitarist now, I can't think of his name. He's actually the guitarist for Danzig as well. Yeah, this one, it's not as bad as the pressings that everybody else has been talking about. This one is the Urban Outfitters. It's a gray. I don't know how well you can see there, silver and black vinyl pressing. Billy Hurst actually told me about this one, that it was coming out. And it's got a huge poster as well. It sounds pretty good. It's not great, but it sounds good. I will say, man, I got that Ozzy box set in right after Christmas. It sounds amazing. If you can afford it, I highly recommend. I thought it was a little bit too much. When you work it out, it comes out to about $30 an LP. But when you factor in the posters and everything else it comes with, I think it was worth it. And it's the best sounding versions of those albums I've ever heard. They did such a great job just cleaning up the sound. Phenomenal. Actually, when Billy Hurst was here last month, I believe it was last month, we spun No More Tears, and he has an original pressing of No More Tears. And he said that the reissue just kind of blew it away. So let's see. I bought this one for nostalgia. I bought this the day it came out because of the first song. One of my all-time favorite movies is Demon Knight, which came out in the 90s. And the main song from that was Hey Man, Nice Shot from Filter. I bought this on cassette when it first came out, and I saw it for like $18 and I grabbed it. Other than Hey Man, Nice Shot, though, it's not really worth grabbing. I wish I had just found a single of that song. Actually, I have the soundtrack for Demon Knight. I'm probably good with that, but nostalgia is not always a good thing. So this is a really cool one. Morrison Hotel from the Doors, and you can see the price on here. This is a German pressing. I haven't looked. It's an early pressing. I don't know that it's an original. Let's see. It looks like this is a 73 pressing, and I believe the original came out in 1970. But a near mint German pressing from 73. I love this album. And then I also picked up a German pressing of An American Prayer. I hear a lot of people talk about this. So American Prayer is some Doors poems. Did you order it though, Billy? Man, I hope it gets there soon. It took a while for mine to get there though. From the time that I ordered it, and I ordered it after the big rush. I didn't pre-order it. I ordered it in December. And it was probably the end of January when I actually got it in. So it still took like a month and a half to get it. So, but so American Prayer is Jim Morrison. It was poetry that he recorded. And after he died, the Doors came back behind and put music to it. And this has always been a favorite of mine. I used to play this nonstop in my dope smoking days and just listen to this over and over again. I have a US pressing, but this one is just a super clean German pressing that I picked up for $15. Here's another cool one. This is what's his name? Gilby Clarke's band before he joined Guns N' Roses. You can get these for pretty cheap. These are like 12, 13 bucks usually. This is a radio promo. I actually have a signed copy of this on CD that's signed by Gilby Clarke. But this is Kill for Thrills, and the album is Dynamite from Nightmare Land. Really good hard rock, though. Oh, I get what you're saying there, Billy. Yeah, the Doors are a funny one. So I loved the Doors back in like my senior year of high school. A good friend of mine that's all he listened to. And he lived with me for about 2 months when some stuff was going on with his family. But he really got me into the Doors, and I listened to them nonstop, probably through my 3rd or 4th year in the military. So probably until 23, 24. And I just kind of lost interest in them. And, you know, I had really nice US pressings of all of their albums, and ended up selling them for a few years ago just to get other stuff I really wanted more. And then I ran across a cheap copy of the debut, a MoFi pressing of their debut, which goes for 60 or 70 bucks. I think I paid 20 bucks for it. And I forgot how good that album was. And it just got me back on this Doors kick. That was a few months ago. Actually, it's been 6 or 7 months. And, you know, these are the main ones, though. Morrison Hotel, the debut, and is it People Are Strange? I don't think that's the name of the album. Maybe it is. But that album with People Are Strange, that's the main Doors that I like. The rest of the stuff is just okay for me. This is an upgrade and promo. And for 10 bucks, I couldn't pass up on it. But this is Ted Nugent's Amboy Dukes, Tooth, Fang, and Claw. The copy that I have is pretty trashed. I've played the shit out of it over the years. It was already in pretty rough shape when I got Amboy Duke stuff. Is hard to find in good condition. Yeah, man, we all had that one. For Strange Days. Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey. I don't know why I was having trouble getting that one out. I picked up a little bit of Johnny Cash. So I had seen this one. I've seen this a bunch of times over the year, and I always thought it was a greatest hits album, so I never bought it. And then I was looking at it, and it's not. It's actually it was actually an album from 81, I think. No, 79. So his last album of the 70s, but this is Johnny Cash, Silver. And it's got Cocaine Blues on it, which I love that song. Pretty killer album. I've actually spun this one a few times, but I got it for $5. It's a promo copy. So can't beat that. But yeah, it silver, gold. Anytime you see silver or gold, you just kind of think greatest hits collection. So I've passed up on that a dozen times. These next two are amazing albums, and I highly recommend you grab these while you can. This is just killer thrash with cleaner vocals. If you're familiar with Vengeance Rising, this is basically the band from Vengeance Rising with a new singer, but this is Die Happy. Scott Waters completely did. This is new artwork. The original artwork was completely different. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite covers of the last few years. It's definitely my favorite cover that he's done. But this is the Die Happy debut. And these things sound amazing. I've already spun these a bunch of times. And this one's got the yellow cover, and then the vinyl is a really cool yellow and black. And then the Die Happy, the second album. I believe that's the original cover, just kind of cleaned up. And then that one is blue and white. So really killer job on those. This one just came in a few days ago. I think I won this on an auction for, maybe I did. Maybe I paid like 15 bucks for it, but I got it for a really good price. But New Wave of British Heavy Metal band, Witchfinder General. I've actually never owned a copy of that before. Another little country one for you out there, Billy. This is one I found at a local antique store for $6 in really good condition. and it's a promo copy. But this is Everybody's Got a Family from Johnny Paycheck. I like Cream. Do I have? I thought I had it here. I have a MoFi of Cream. My favorite, I guess you would call them a supergroup from that band, from that era, though. And it's also got Eric Clapton, though, is John Mayall. This is Blues Breakers 1 with Eric Clapton, an amazing album. And then Blues Breakers 2 had Peter Green, another amazing album. Thanks, Aria. Man, that was a long time ago. That Nirvana video was, God, that had to be 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, Billy, Cocaine Train's the first song on that one. That's, again, great song. But just this era of British blues, whether it's Cream or Taste or the Yardbirds or John Mayall, that era is, and it's an era. Rory Gallagher is a monster. It's an era of music. I grew up listening to Cream. My dad is a Cream fan. I grew up listening to Eric Clapton. Actually, speaking of this is the most recent MoFi that I ran across. Slow Hand. Man, I picked this up for cheap too. I think I got this for like $15. But that's kind of hard to see, isn't it? There we go. But yeah, I just really got heavily into that British blues era the last few years, and I just can't get enough of it. Rory Gallagher is my favorite. I've been talking about him quite a bit. I've been playing the heck out of his stuff. He was so good and so underrated, and he's just one of those guys that it's all those guys from Cream and Jimi Hendrix and Peter Green, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, all really looked up to this younger kid that was in that scene, and he's really a guitarist, and unfortunately he just never broke out into the mainstream, which is sad because the guy is absolutely phenomenal. But all right, yeah, I like Kurt Cobain. It's funny, growing up during that period. I remember when Nevermind came out. I actually got turned on to Nevermind, and I might have talked about this in that video. I was at a church camp in Vegas, and there were people from all over the country, and somebody was there from Seattle and had Nevermind. And this was before, it had been out for a few months before it really blew up. It was the video that made it blow up. And I got to hear it for the first time, and I was really blown away by their sound. And then I remember a couple months later, they finally blew up, and they were and I played the shit out of them. I played them nonstop. Going back though, I barely listen to Nirvana anymore. I've got all of their albums on vinyl. I've got a bunch of their singles. Man, I probably haven't listened to a Nirvana album in maybe 2 years. Whereas the other bands from the Seattle scene, Alice in Chains I listen to all the time. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. I still listen to Soundgarden all the time. I haven't checked out the Electric Prunes. I see their albums from time to time. I see everybody talking to them. Are they British blues though? Or are they more? I always thought they were a psych band or a garage band. So you have to let me know, Jeff. My favorite Nirvana is probably is In Utero. I think that's definitely their top album. That's the one that I listen to the most when I'm in the mood for Nirvana. I usually go to that one. I'll pull out Nevermind every once in a while, but like I said, it's been years since I touched that at all. And then the last one that I'm going to show tonight, I think, is going to be this one. This one, I just bought this mint sealed. I found it for a really killer price at a place that never has albums for a really killer price. But this is the Columbia House pressing of Slaughter, the Slaughter debut. And I don't know if you can see how bad it looks. Like they literally took the cassette tape and blew it up. This image it may not come across on the camera, but it's really bad. But man, this has already gone on longer than I expected. I expected to do like 15 minutes just to test this out. But yeah, I know, Billy. Tell me what you guys think of the live stream. It's been a while. Again, let me know what how the quality turned out once this is uploaded and all that good stuff. And you know, I'll get with Billy. You know, we're talking about doing a live stream together and put out when we're going to do that. Other than that, take care, guys, and I'll see you soon.